T-minus 10.
All aboard!
You know what a job is? That when people get up in the morning and they go to work.
This is Scope of Success, where we bring you business life lessons and throw a lifeline to your career. And now, Brian and James.
Welcome back, where we are at Big Apple Scrum Day, James and I. James?
Still here.
Yeah, still here, still enjoying the Big Apple Scrum Day.
We're scrumming.
We're scrumming, learning stuff, meeting people, having a great time.
A great time.
Right. And it doesn't end.
Well, I think it does end at some point. Actually,
point.
at some point, I have to go back to work. So
Right.
at some point, it will end. The fun will end.
Right.
But
Not
now. I have fun at work, too. So
Yes, right, which is
actually.
good. So we got a guest coming in. His name is Jim York. He is an Agile coach.
Yes.
He is,
I think you nailed that, too.
Thank you.
That is his name.
Yes, thank you very much. He is here at the Big Apple Scrum Day, so we're going to talk to him, find out what got him here, what he's all about, and all that.
Yeah.
But first, I want to share my Kickstarter
Kick it.
that I've been working on.
Kick it.
So my Kickstarter campaign is coming to a close on May 19th. It is a children's book that sales of will benefit the TD Foundation, which is a 100% volunteer organization that provides aid to children of wounded warriors and fallen heroes of the military. To pledge support, check out thisstorybookempire.com for more information. It is ending soon, May 19th. Check it out. It's a
Is
great
there a
project.
link on the show page?
There will be a link on the show page.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So check it out. It's a great project and benefits a great cause.
Can I kick it?
So kick it. Right.
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much. So I want to bring to the show Jim York. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Jim is a special guest because Jim is actually the first guest, and we've had thousands and hundreds of thousands of downloads from around the globe.
Right.
Jim, I think you're our first guest where neither Brian nor I mispronounced your name.
Right.
It's a pretty simple name.
So
Right.
Thank
we
you.
did pretty good at that. So Jim, where are you coming from? Where are you coming from?
In Virginia.
In Virginia.
Just west of Dulles,
Oh, okay.
live down south?
down south. We call it the DMV.
Okay. And what are you doing here at Big Apple Scrum Day today?
Well, I'm part of the coaching clinic.
Okay.
And what does that do? What do you mean by coaching clinic for the people who aren't here?
So Big Apple Scrum Day sponsors 15-minute coaching sessions for the attendees. You can come with a question, just to chat with a coach to get some insights on how you might deal with that situation.
Oh, that's great. And you get some one-on-one time.
Get some one-on-one time with a coach.
Oh, that's excellent. How long is the session?
15 minutes long.
Oh, 15 minutes.
15
Oh,
minutes
okay.
long.
Right.
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
And you've spoken to a few people already?
Sure have.
So what have you heard? What have you got from them?
Well,
What's the dirt?
we get all sorts of things.
Right.
People that are new to Scrum, people that have been experienced with Scrum, they're here trying to solve some problem or meet some sort of opportunity, some sort of challenge in their organization, and they want to have some insight from somebody who's been there, done that with
Right.
other organizations.
Yeah. Could you say specifically something that came up?
Well, we get folks that are startups.
Yeah.
I just chatted with a fellow that they've been kind of cowboy coding for a bit, and they've
Right.
got a really great idea, and now they've got some funding, and they need to get a little more serious about
right.
their structure. And they're looking at Scrum as one of the possibilities for doing that. They have experience with doing Scrum in the past, not with this particular group. But how do we get a group that's a team that's going to be new to trying this together?
Right.
And how do we, get them up to speed on a team? This particular group's dealing with remote team members, which
okay.
is not uncommon,
Right.
but does present some special challenges.
A
to how
large
to-
team?
not a large team.
Oh, okay.
Fairly
So, like
small
10?
team.
10?
Yeah, 10 or so.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
but it's how do we get people to learn very quickly?
But that seems like the number seems to help, though. Like, I feel like 10 people, 10 team member is kind of really a lot helpful. I mean, you throw in, remote, too. That throws
Small teams are a particular advantage because you can collaborate more effectively together. But when you're remote,
Right.
it's how do you get that high bandwidth
Right.
communication, that more
Jim-
improvisational approach to getting the work done, which is the space that's the appropriate space for Scrum. Is where there are unknowns. You got to figure it out as you go.
Right.
How important is the physical space of an office to being agile and applying Scrum techniques?
I think that's part of the larger ecosystem. There's the space is important. The support you get around that space as well. So having a place where the action can occur, and for remote teams, you can do that virtually, but there's nothing that's going to replace getting people in the same room face to face when you need to have that high bandwidth communication.
And so, with something, is it good to have the whole team in the room like all day working?
No.
You want people to have an opportunity to go fall back and get stuff done.
The whole idea of open space, I think, has been misconstrued in a lot of organizations. You think we could have this giant room and there's all this, everybody's in the same space together all the time, and that's just not conducive to getting work done. There are times where you need to be heads down and have time to yourself, and the space needs to be able to support that. There are other times where people need to get together and go to a whiteboard, and you need to be able to have that space as well. So,
is that something
that's a big change that we've seen in the last, I don't know how many years, 5 years. Is the office space as a whole has been changing, where it is a very open, but it also provides smaller areas for people to kind of connect with. Do you find the old-fashioned ones really kind of a roadblock in a sense? How much of a difference does that affect?
So when you're saying old-fashioned, you're talking about
Cube
hallway with doors or cubes?
Yeah, like
or
offices and cube farms and all that.
I think the spaces need to be right for the people who are in the space. So I wouldn't want to have a single solution for all situations.
Right.
So I think it's more appropriate to have spaces that are flexible and let what the work is that's needed to be done inform, the way that people work together and the physical spaces they need to support that. So. We don't want to have just a giant open space. We want to have spaces where people can gather, and we want to have spaces where people can go have real privacy, as opposed to a cube farm where it's kind of simulated privacy.
Yeah,
we know
right.
that's not really...
A piece of fabric isn't really going to hold back many conversations and noise and stuff.
That's right.
What are some other things that people are coming to you about in terms of like transforming an organization from? What are they coming from, first of all? What is the opposite of Agile?
Well, I made a mistake years ago at a conference. I had a topic that was on transitioning from Waterfall to Agile, and I had about 250 people in the audience, and I asked the question just to start off, can I see a show of hands how many people are transitioning from Waterfall to Agile? And I looked out on the sea of people, and somewhat to my horror, only about 2 people raised their hands. And so very quickly I just shouted out, well, if you're not transitioning from Waterfall, what are you transitioning from? And somebody in the back shouted, chaos!
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of what we're seeing is people are transitioning from a space where it is chaotic or there's some unnecessary complexity in the way that they've created their processes or their organizational design. And they're looking for just a more effective way of getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's...
which is a big key.
A lot of times that's just take whatever it is you're doing and start to figure out how to simplify it.
Yeah.
And is Agile just for software development, or can we?
No.
Right. Listen, I know that's a little bit of a.
James, I feel like the judge in a courtroom.
Kind
James
of
knew the answers.
Leading
He's
question.
leading.
That's sort of a meatball question
there. He's trying to trap him.
It's everywhere now. But I think that that where I see it and I'm really intrigued is through these things like product development. Anything that has a customer involved, anything that's customer facing. So software, product development, it seems like agility, it really is terrific. I mean, shortening the feedback between the customer and the development teams, bringing a better product to market. I love it. So is that kind of what's catching on now?
I think that's what's catching on. I mean, I often get questions or someone saying, well, we work in a pure software environment. And I was like, what exactly is that? I mean, that's pretty foreign to me. Software is a component typically of a larger value stream.
You're going to have sales, you're going to have marketing, you're going to have HR. I mean, if you're a company, you're going to have these, operational components, and then also things that are trying to get the word out to sell your product.
Right. So, Jim, what's the difference between what you do as an Agile coach to improve efficiencies? I know you're changing, and an efficiency expert.
Well,
do those paths cross?
They do cross a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess one of the big differences in being a coach is, as a coach, I help people and teams achieve goals that are important to them. And
what you mean, the business, the company?
Well, to the company, to the organization, of course, that is an essential part of it. But it also has to be important to the people, the individuals that are engaged in the change. And I think there's a organizational, self-ownership aspect to the Agile and to coaching in that space, whereas an efficiency expert can come in as an advisor or as a contractor and essentially implement a more efficient process. Now, in the Agile space, we're dealing in an environment where there are unknowns, and to have an expert come in from the outside and say, "Well, here's your solution."
Yeah.
At best, you might get a temporary success there,
Right.
but as the landscape starts to shift, whatever was put in place isn't necessarily going to have legs. So what we're really trying to do is build in a capability within the organization to evolve as the situation changes and continually seek improvements to their processes. So it's not a one-time done.
How long does it take for you to get the lay of the land? Like if you go into a place, if you don't know you don't know anything about it, what cold in a sense, what do you got to do before, or how does that work?
Well, typically the first question is, what do you want to make as a difference? What is the goal that you want to have? And that can be a short term, it can be long term. Usually it's a combination of short and long. And by short, I mean 2 to 3 months out. Long term could be 5, 10 or more years. So let's first talk about what differences that you want to make. And there's a little bit of a reality check there. What's your sphere of control? What's your sphere of influence in that space?
Right.
Are you undertaking something that is achievable? Is it important to the organization? Is it something that you need to have external help with, or can you do it all yourself? As a coach, you're always trying to work yourself out of a job. The coach is not there for the long term. It's like we're trying to help people achieve their goals and then move on.
Right. Have you ever seen the show Bar Rescue?
No.
Okay. James, you haven't seen that, right?
No, I'm not a big drinker.
No, you don't have to be a drinker. It's a pretty cool show that is on Spike, but I think they call it Paramount Network now. He rescues bars, and he goes in and he fixes them up, ones that are failing or close to failure, and he does a recon before he gets there. So they put cameras in and they see how it's going before they get in. So they kind of know what they're working with before they get in. Do you do something like that too, where you kind of see the layout of the land before you kind of get in? I mean, they say what they want, but it's like, what do you got?
The truth is in the action. So you have to be able to see the behaviors that are in the locale. So there is a bit of reconnaissance there. I like to approach it from a goal perspective. So the first thing is meet with the people who want to make a difference from a leadership perspective. Set a goal for what it is they want to achieve, and then get the people in action around. And if it's not the real work, perhaps it's a simulation.
Right.
One of the offerings that we have is it's called a goal-oriented Scrum team workshop. And so we take about a week and we meet with leadership. Establish what some improvement goal is, and communicate that to the teams that would go through the workshop. And the teams experience a full release cycle in a 2-day simulation using Scrum. And it's the real team, and it's their real work. So we're talking about their real customers and something that would be meaningful to them. We build out a paper prototype in a 2-day simulation, 3 sprints to a release. And then we back that up with a day using an open space approach,
right,
where the teams identify opportunities for improvement and break out into self-organized groups to discuss those and identify what things that they want to implement in reality.
Yeah, that's a great approach.
And what that does is it gets everybody on the same page in terms of terminology and what Scrum is.
Right, and there's nothing at risk.
And there's nothing at risk there. And then that day on the end, the open space, activates self-organization with the team. So they're not being told what the solution is. They're coming up with the solutions themselves.
Right.
And it's targeted towards that goal that was established by the leadership.
Do you walk them through the first live project?
That would be kind of a supplementary thing. Sometimes
Okay.
they feel that they got it at
Okay,
that point, and they
right,
can
right.
carry it forward.
Okay,
and
so it's
other
their
times,
decision,
and
right.
other times they're saying, yeah, we'd like a little help with this.
Okay,
So,
right.
and if that's the case, then, it's, as a coach, I'm typically not there full time 5 days a week, because
Right.
the idea is for them to take it on themselves. So it might be, let's say 6 days over a month for 3 months, something like that.
Right. How do you deal with someone who's reluctant?
An individual
Yeah.
on the
individual-
team?
Yeah, individual on the team.
Well, that's a hard question.
Yeah, right.
I think that's a very personal thing. Well, what's the reason why they're reluctant? And there's a difference between being a skeptic
Yeah.
and not being the right fit for the nature of what it is that the organization does.
But you could spot the person. You've been doing this enough.
yeah.
Where you could spot that person. Do you do a one-on-one with him and say, what are your concerns with this? How can I address that and make you more comfortable with that this is going to work?
Yeah, I will do that if it's called for.
Oh, okay.
Again, a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm coaching the Scrum Master, for example,
Right.
and working them through that process. If they feel comfortable having that conversation with that individual, then I'm there to support them. If they want that, they can have that conversation by themselves with that individual, or if they want to have somebody model that conversation.
Right.
I can do the modeling of that conversation for them with that individual, and they learn through that observation.
Oh, okay. No,
Jim, how does somebody get in touch with you if they're interested in transforming their organization or getting some of this coaching?
Well, the easiest way is probably through our website.
Okay.
And
what's the website?
It's foxedgeltd.com.
And we'll put that on our show page as well.
foxedgeltd.com. And you said you're down in Virginia. Do you know a good friend of the show, Jesse Fuel?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Also down there.
Yeah,
and also
wow.
in the Agile game.
Yeah, wow. It's a small world.
Jesse's one of the first people we ever interviewed.
First guest. Yeah,
First guest, not a member of PMI. I
Yes,
think.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Friend of the
Although
show.
he is a
Jesse
member
Fuel.
of PMI, but not a member of PMI LLC.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Have you also come across Kendall Lott, who hosts?
I have indeed. I had a conversation with Kendall a few years back with Elizabeth McGovern on PM. Was it Point of View?
Oh, okay. You on his
the
podcast?
And
Yeah.
she's an actress.
Wasn't
different Elizabeth
I'm thinking
McGovern?
different.
Wasn't she on Bewitched?
different-
I'm thinking Bewitched.
Yeah. No.
Right, is that her?
Oh.
No.
Well, that's amazing.
No.
Does she do that thing with the nose?
No, she doesn't. She's
Oh.
absolutely phenomenal.
Didn't she blink? I thought she blinked.
No,
was
no,
that
she had a
Was that Jeannie?
A genie bling.
Oh,
No,
Genie.
yes.
No, she's a great leader in an organization that tried Agile,
Mm-hmm.
actually Customs and Border Protection.
Oh,
And,
wow.
Fantastic story. She was in one of my classes, and I didn't see her for a couple of years, and I found that she and her team had implemented Agile. They were serving the needs of the inspectors at the ports, and they needed to have some voice of the customer, and they were struggling with getting people in to work with them. And they finally got somebody to come in for
It's probably because they were
6 weeks.
They were trying to lock all those people up, right?
Well,
so how do you?
Well, this is
how do you-
inspecting containers.
oh,
This is inspecting
okay.
containers. And I'm hoping the containers don't contain people. These are goods
Right.
that are coming into
Yes.
the country. But they got a port inspector that agreed to come and spend 6 weeks with the team, and they got such great results from that. They went from having challenges getting people to come from the ports to participate with their teams that were building the products, to having a queue of people clamoring
people wanted to
It's a
get in
good
to be
thing.
available.
Yeah,
Sure.
that is
It's a
great.
great story.
Very nice.
And
we'll put Kendall's link on our show page for this episode.
Sure.
Just so people can check out his show, and then of course come back to us.
Yes.
Listen to Kendall's show and then come back to
Jim,
us.
how did you get here to Big Apple Scrum Day?
Well, I know Gene Gendel. He's a fellow coach.
Oh, I thought you
and he's
meant literally. Like, did he take a car? or
Well, I
train? Is
assumed
that-
he took the Acela up, right?
Did you take a Sella?
No, I actually drove.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But Gene Gendel's a fellow coach, and I learned through him that he was doing the coaching clinic here last year. So I came last year to be a volunteer for that, and such a great experience. I decided to come back and
Oh,
do it
that's
again
great.
this year.
Last year was your first year here?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's great.
Last year was our first year here,
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Well, it's been great talking to you, Jim.
Thank you for being on, Jim.
Yeah, I wish
Yeah,
you much success in your training. Thank you very much. I want to remind our listeners, keep listening to Big Apple Scrum Day, our series. James,
Yeah, we'll be here until they throw us out,
we're going to be here. Thank you.
which
Keep
might
listening.
not be long now.
They're starting to circle around the table. I'm getting nervous. Keep listening to our coverage of Big Up Scrum Day. Thanks.
Scope of Success is brought to you by PMI Long Island, the Project Management Institute of Long Island. For more information, visit pmilic.org.